poem is that this is written in 1919.
You're right.
Yeats is a modernist poet coming out of Ireland. If you know anything about Ireland's history of civil dispute, we have a big division between the Catholics and the Protestants. And so just for your own reference, Yeats is Protestant. Some of his most famous poems are the Isle of Innisfree, Byzantium, and then of course The Second Coming, which you're going to see from the PowerPoint. It's influenced a lot of different pieces of literature, not just Achebe's Things Fall Apart. So you should have noticed from that first stanza, this is the whole reason why we're reading this poem is because the title of Achebe's book is right there in that first stanza, Things Fall Apart, the center cannot hold. And of 200 years in history. And so he looked at this as like a map of what is happening in our history and what is to come. And so he sees it as if this part of the gyre is representing of the strongest point in our history, most control. So you can think of all of the greatest things in our human history happening here. As it moves out, we get further and further and further away from control, more chaos, the center cannot hold, things fall apart. Okay? So that's what he's meaning by the turning and turning, the ebb and flow, chaos, peace, destruction, reformation. He thinks that in 1921, the world is at the brink of an end. And for him, I mean, imagine living through World War I. It would be very easy to see that that is the end. All right, so then we've got this falcon, right? We know what a falcon is. Isn't he cute? His little hat. All right, falcon. All right.
Do you have a
So
coconut on his head?
it's his little helmet.
Oh, I thought it was a coconut.
It's this cute little helmet. Okay, so in reality, if you train a falcon and you're the falconer, you wear this leather doohickey on your arm, and he'll come to you from anywhere. They're very smart birds, and so here in the poem, however, Yeats is creating a metaphor for the falcon being a representation of us as humans. And so then if you think about if we are the falcon and you cannot hear the falconer, what then is the falconer? The universe, God, a collective soul, whatever you believe, whatever that essence is that we can't explain, that we can't hear, that is the falconer. And that's causing some of the disconnect, some of the displacement of why am I here? What is my purpose? What does all this destruction mean? Because you have to think about, when we read Steinbeck's Nobel Prize speech, right? He says that literature has been around since the creation of speech. It is a necessary element for human communication. We find a need to resolve our fears, things that we don't understand, and how do we do that? By telling stories, by writing poems, by attempting to understand our world through literature. And so, if you imagine from a personal perspective, here's a man who has seen devastation at his front door, has given up on hope for humanity. And this poem serves as an attempt at reconciling what has occurred and what is soon to happen. And that's when we get into the true purpose. Because it is not enough to say, well, Yeats is just pointing out the obvious. We know that there is a constant duel within the human of good versus evil, and sometimes the evil wins out, and unfortunately, the evil that wins out is often people in power. We know that. Shakespeare writes about it. Macbeth, Hamlet, Julius Caesar. The people that are in power are the ones that are most easily taken over by evil, and they are the ones that have control over the weak. And that is where we get some of the devastation. So we know that's the obvious. But is that the point of his poem? No. That concept out of like the individual and apply it to humanity. What is the ceremony of innocence in humanity? Yes.
Pretending that we're at all good.
Yeah, that idea that we are innately good, and if we're left up to our own devices, we will help our fellow man. Right? And Yates is saying, hello, apparently that's not true, right? And so then, if our ceremony, we have the best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Now, the best lack all conviction. This is the concept of the detrimental effects of apathy, right? What is apathy? Complacency, lack of emotion, knowing something's wrong and just allowing it to happen, believing that you have no control, right? If the best of us stand in the shadows and watch horrible things happen, that is just as consequential as those who are the worst, that are full of passion and intensity. So think about what that means for a second. Give me an idea. How can we apply that to what we know? Where have we seen this happen?
Bullying.
Elaborate.
When someone's being bullied and you don't stand up for them or something. Or
Yeah.
you don't say anything.
Yeah, and so how is that just as detrimental as, per se, the bully who is full of passion and intensity? Yes, that moment, if we have collective apathy, then we are condoning the behavior of the worst, and the worst feed off of that. So that's why I have this picture here. His power, yes, comes from his ability, his great oration and his intelligence and his ability to manipulate. But that manipulation isn't possible if he doesn't have massive amounts of people who are complacent to the idea. Revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. What do we take about this line? What is the most important word in these two lines?
Surely.
Surely. This word is precisely why half the population love literature and the other half despise it. Because you can write a whole paper on the word surely. Why?
It could be a name.
What does surely... Okay, when I say surely, what do you think of?
A person.
Sure, come on now.
A
Come
person.
on. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Okay, what else?
Like explaining.
100%.
Surely.
100%, without a doubt, right? That would be the denotation of surely. But if it's repeated and within the connotation of a pessimistic tone, what happens to surely? It's doubtful, it's sarcastic, it's questioning, it becomes ambiguous. What is his meaning? Does he mean that it is at hand, or does he mean it's not at hand, or we don't have any idea? What do you think?
Yes.
Surely you must be joking. Well, we'll see. In the context of the poem, what indication is he giving us now of surely? So let me help you follow. Right, it's not sincere. So when you read the line the first time, it's ambiguous of the tone. It could be 100%, like Alex said. It could be, this is for sure what I'm meaning, or it could be sarcasm. We're not sure until we get to the very next line, and he says, hardly are these words out of my mouth that I get a vision, and I realize that this phrase troubles my sight. This can't be the possibility. Of desert sand, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun. What do we know about the Sphinx?
It's big.
It's old, it's big. Where does it come from?
Egypt.
Egypt. Egypt is in what region? North Africa, right? Why is the Sphinx constructed?
It's a tomb.
All right, so
History class.
Here's the Sphinx. Right? What's this right here?
That's a pyramid.
That's a pyramid. And what is underneath or in the pyramids?
Dirt.
Dead pharaohs. So, what's his purpose? Remember a three-headed dog that guards the gates of hell?
He guards the souls.
He is the gatekeeper of the spirit world and our world.
Need the nose
So
job.
this is casual.
Yeah, he lost his nose. Did you watch Aladdin? We find out how it happens. She's like, I know what you're talking about. You know?
The giant sand tiger.
Yeah, so Jasmine and Aladdin fly by and the guy is distracted, right?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Don't listen.